All right, hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Origins. My name is Ben Smith, and we've got a fun one this week. We got another group chat episode, as is what it will be for the rest of the month of March. It's episode 18 this week, and I have a very special group with me here tonight, but more on that in just a minute. If this is your first time listening to the show, this episode will be a variation on the format of the show because on group chat editions, I invite some friends onto the show here, and I tell them a story live over Zoom video, and you'll be getting their genuine reaction in the moment. Whether they like it or not, you will see it. It is our fourth time doing a group chat episode, and tonight is extra special because it's ladies' night. What's up, ladies?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
It's 8 p.m. on a Sunday. All right, let's go through it, guys. Let's have you introduce yourself, and I'll start with my missus down at the bottom of my screen here, the screen everyone else will be seeing. So, hey, Mrs. Smith.
Hi there. So my name is Tara Patrico Smith. I am Ben's wife of going on 7 years.
Correct.
7 years. I'm sitting in our kitchen while he's in the office, and we're trying to just like have a good night. So
Yeah,
I'm here.
Awesome. All right, Tori.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tori Knapp. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Friends with these lovely people via my husband, Brian Knapp. I'm sitting in my office / sunroom, work every day, and glad to be here.
All right, and Michelle.
Hello, my name is Michelle Gambino Gorney, another hyphenated last name. I am the wife of Mike, that handsome bald guy you've seen in the past group chats. Married 4 years. I've known these lovely people for quite some time through college, through high school, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Yep. And I saved Carly for last because I have a question for her first. How do you deal with the beard? How do you do it?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
He loves
it.
it.
It is
so
what
I
it is.
do.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's so intense.
I'm Carly. I am the girlfriend of Rich Osborne, the one with the beard that you've seen a couple times. Yeah. We are originally from Michigan, but we live in Orlando, Florida right now.
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome, ladies. Once again, it's important to note, I do not tell them the story that I'm going to be telling them tonight. So you're going to see their genuine reactions in the moment. I hope you're all having a great week. This comes out on March 18th, and I like to point out what happened on this day in history. And March 18th is actually a really interesting one. So in 1990, on this day, the largest art robbery in U.S. history went down. 13 works of art worth over $500 million were stolen from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston and is still unsolved to this day.
Really?
Yeah, the museum actually has a standing offer of $10 million if you can find the crew or the paintings themselves. But obviously, that has not happened yet. Also, in 1951, Ben Cohen was born in Brooklyn, New York, and you may not be able to place the name right away, but you will once I tell you his partner's name is Jerry. So Ben and Jerry's co-founder, co-creator, Ben Cohen, was born on this day, and PBS, the public broadcasting station, first aired on this day in 1967. Okay. So major, all sorts of stuff going on this day. But just a quick bit of housekeeping before we get to the story. Be sure to check out the Origins podcast on YouTube, where I post this show and all of our extra features, and I'll be posting this in full. You can check it out. Also, I think this will be the first episode that's actually on the Woodward Sports YouTube page. So you guys are making the debut for us. All right.
Ooh.
We're also on Instagram. I post a lot of my research notes along with photos and videos that I reference in the show. You can find that at Origins Pod on Instagram. And if we're all ready to do this thing, I see Tori there. You got the drink going. All right. Perfect. All right. Again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to just kind of fire away. I took a swig of water. All right.
Michelle was having some wine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it. I love it. Do it. All right. So this week, once again, our story is going to involve America's pastime, one of my favorite and most underrated sports movies of all time, and was the antithesis to a male-dominated sport back in the day. So I don't expect you guys to react to this right away, but I'll explain what it is in just a moment. All right, so let's start as we do each and every week. At the beginning, this is Origins, the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
Yay! Oh, that movie. What's that movie?
Yes.
Have you seen A League of Their Own?
Yes.
Yes.
All
I
right.
love it.
Yes. So
Daddy.
again, you wouldn't have recognized the name right away, but when I tell you it is the league based off the movie, or I guess the movie was based off the league, A League of Their Own. But so it's clear the story today is the true story behind the film of the league itself and not the origin of the movie itself. So we're going to be talking about the real story here today. But just briefly for the folks at home who may not have seen it, A League of Their Own was a film released in 1992 starring Tom Hanks as Jimmy Dugan, the manager of the team that the focus of the movie was on, the Rockford Peaches.
Mhm.
It also starred many well-known actresses like Gina Davis, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, and was directed by the late, great Penny Marshall. So the synopsis basically goes, two sisters join the first female professional baseball league and struggle to help it succeed amidst their own growing rivalry. So the movie was released in July of 92. It was a budget of $40 million, made just over $132 million at the box office, which made it a huge success for Columbia Pictures. The basic story as it's told in the movie is that when World War II gets going, many pro baseball players were drafted or enlisted in the armed forces, while the entire country rallied around the men serving in the war, along with all the women as well, who are nurses and work in the front lines as well as caretakers. Clear changes to everyday life in America rose up and forced women into jobs that were roles typically for the men at the time. So you had drivers, factory workers, mechanics, etc. And women took over for the men when it came to filling those jobs. One of those jobs was as baseball players. And so at this time, they needed some place to go. They needed to find a way to play baseball. So a few guys created something called the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, or the longest name ever. And I'm probably going to just lower it down to like A League of Their Own women, because it's way too long to say over and over again. But the movie was based around the Rockford Peaches, who are a real team in the league. They won 4 titles during the league's 11 years in existence, the most titles for any team in the league during its run. The Rockford Peaches and many other facets of the movie were true in a sense, but many creative freedoms were taken in that movie when it came to the rest of the story and the details of the league's creation as well. We'll go through some of those differences today. I'll start with one of the biggest misconceptions, or at least some of the most creative liberties that the film took. The main one that I found in the movie was that they state that this league was replacing men's baseball with the women's game until the war is over and the men who were enlisted could come home and return to their respective teams, but that actually wasn't the case. The 3 men who get the most credit for forming this league included a guy named Philip K. Wrigley, who he was the owner of the Chicago Cubs. He owned the Wrigley gum fortune, that whole thing. He was one of the men involved. Branch Rickey was another who I guess was most well known for bringing Jackie Robinson into Major League Baseball, and Paul V. Harper, an attorney for the Wrigley Corporation. So it really wasn't to replace the men's baseball. Wrigley, in fact, had the idea that when the men's teams were playing away games, the women could play in their big league stadiums. So in Wrigley's mind, that helped the fact that the stadiums were kind of dormant during this time, and that would fill the time and create some entertainment really during this time. But it was actually, Wrigley was trying to solve this problem by creating more baseball teams, which would then bring in more profits and da-da-da-da-da. So as history showed them, though, keeping baseball going was not going to be easy in this time of war. And here's where things kind of get interesting, because our country did face a baseball shortage, I guess we could call it, more than 20 years earlier when men were drafted to fight in World War I. The government deemed baseball and other sports to be non-essential. So basically, ball players, which you had to work or fight. There was an order that was done from the United States Army that said that you had to either get a war-related job or get into the military.
So wait,
Yeah.
So playing baseball was obviously not considered work.
Right. Non-essential.
Okay.
So this was in World War I. So obviously we're coming up on World War II, where this movie kind of falls in 1942, where the movie falls, I guess, and where the league falls was in 1942 when, Pearl Harbor was attacked. So it was just about a month after where that occurred. The wartime, it forced the league to close up in 1918 when World War I was going on. So they were worried that a similar situation was going to happen now that we saw the sequel to World War. So again, it was just after the attacks on Pearl Harbor. Owners didn't know if they were actually going to have a team. And it was actually a bunch of owners who got to the commissioner and was like, this commissioner's last name is Landis. And they said, you need to reach out to the president, who at the time was Franklin Roosevelt. So basically, he sent a handwritten letter to the president asking basically for advice. What do we do? And basically, the president responded really fast. He goes, basically, he calls it the green light letter. He said it would honestly be for the best bet of our country if we keep baseball going moving forward. Basically, he wanted people who were home to have some sort of entertainment. So he was fine with whatever the leagues were going to do. Basically, hold on, I lost my place. 1 second. I can edit this. It's all good.
So I'm confused though. You either have to work or be in war, but then there's still people home that might be able to play baseball or attend baseball.
Right.
To fill that gap. So like those were like the rogue folks. I'm not choosing either. I'm gonna go to see a baseball game.
I think it's those who didn't qualify for either. So basically, and I was saying how World War I, that was the time where people were like, baseball's over. Stop thinking there's baseball. We're done with that. You go to war. But this time around, they were like, can we try to maneuver some things and get this league going? And ended up, that's exactly what they were able to do. Basically, the president told them, and I quote, "The value of baseball was in its ability to benefit so many while requiring so few resources." He just wanted to basically get as many people to the ball clubs as they could, or to the ball games as they could, so it provides some entertainment in those off times. Basically, he wanted to make sure that everyone got a chance to go to a game and be entertained while the war was going on. So if you do go to the Origins Podcast Instagram page, I should note I will have the typed up letter. I did find that letter that Roosevelt sent to the league. So I'll have a copy of that on the photos for the Instagram page. So with orders from on high, President Roosevelt's like, go for it, man. Let's do it. And now the plan is moving forward with the league. So
interesting that in the time of war, like the president made sure to like write a letter back about, go ahead. Get your baseball going. Like, aren't there other priorities?
Yeah, and actually, it was really interesting because Landis, the commissioner, was a staunch Republican. Roosevelt was a Democrat, and multiple times they've gone in the newspaper and fought against one another and politically disagreed on almost everything. But when it came to baseball, they're like, "Yeah, we're on the same page on this, pretty much."
Interesting.
Yeah. So they move forward, and one of the problems was, and I think we saw it in the movie too, was that baseball, it wasn't a game typically played by women. Normally you play softball, right? Like that's pretty typical, especially for the 40s, and that was the situation. So as you see in the movie, they pretty much just play baseball right away. They go right into it, but it was actually not the case. It wasn't actually. So the league started in 1943. They didn't actually start playing by baseball rules until 1948. So they played softball for the most part. And then they kind of created like a hybrid game where it was like a little bit of baseball rules, a lot of softball rules. Like what was one? For instance, I think you can't steal in softball, but in this league you can.
It took them 5 years.
Yeah.
To transition?
Yep.
That's a long time.
Am I the only one who doesn't know the rule difference between softball and baseball? Why that even matters? Like the balls are different sizes.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
Underhand, like softball, it's like underhand toss. Baseball's overhand. There's like the distance of the bases. That's all different.
Cool.
So a lot
I'm
of
not
things
the only
could
one.
be different about it. Yeah. So
the field sizes.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
The
smaller
distance
in
space, the
softball.
outfield side, it was all
Yep.
very up in the air, pretty much.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
again, so right away the girls didn't play baseball; they played softball in this league. Like when the movie begins and the Rockford Peaches kind of get going, they're just immediately playing baseball. But in reality, they played softball or like a combo of the games for quite a while.
I guess that makes sense logistically.
Yeah,
Start where, anyways, whatever.
Get to the good stuff.
The where they could put the players in the best position to put on a show, basically, is what they were going for. So they're playing a game that they know. They're trying to figure this all out. But one of the interesting facets of the whole thing was just the pay in which that these women would get.
They got paid. Wow.
Yeah. Well, do you remember they were like, there's a moment in the movie where I can't remember the character's name, but it was John Lovitz. He's like, these girls are going to get $75 a week or, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And it would actually range anywhere from like 45 to 85 a week, which is like, I think 650 to 1200 per week today in today's dollars. So it's not too bad in terms of, what they were working with at the time. And so I was trying to compare it to people who were actually going to these games. So the people who are going to be paying to go see these games, what did they make? So by comparison, there was this guy who wrote a paper named William Whitaker at the Congressional Research Service. The average manufacturing job in 1943 paid about 88 cents an hour. Couple that with the other documentation that estimates manufacturing jobs worked an average of like 44 hours a week in these manufacturing gigs. That would come out to just about $40 per week for men in a normal position as a worker. So these women were actually making more than some of these manufacturing workers, or the people who were actually paying the price to come see the women play were making less than them, which I guess still is the case for the most part in professional sports today.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Also, a little side note, obviously other jobs paid higher than manufacturing, but what I noticed was that a lot of the teams in the areas where they were set up in cities that had like a high number of industrial positions. So I figured if we are going to compare salaries, we might as well do it with the people who are actually in the cities that they're playing in and not just randomly across the country. So I kind of condensed it into that. Of course, we'd also have to take into account the hours that these women would have to go play these games. So they had to work much longer than 44 hours a week that they would be paid for. And, they had, I don't know, they had to travel. The league was certainly more of a way of life than it was a job, really. They had to travel all the time. They had to be around their teammates all the time. They just couldn't simply go home at the end of the day. But all things considered, they were kind of, they're being paid to play baseball and have fun. The general plot line of the movie, which I thought was really interesting, was the charm school aspect of the film. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Yeah.
You've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys okay?
I haven't. No, I
you
haven't.
have to see
it's
it
just
now.
great whether you've seen it or not. You're gonna have to do some homework and watch it later.
It's a really
Oh
good
my
movie.
gosh, it's so good. It used to be like when everyone had cable, like TBS used to have it on all the time.
Yeah, like every Sunday
growing
that would be
up.
on at like
Yeah.
6 a.m. and
Insane.
5 p.m.
It's like on my list. It's been on my list for a long time. I don't know why.
Highly recommend. Old school Madonna.
Yeah. Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell. That's like the
I just
comedic
have the
genius.
song that they sing in my head right
Awesome.
now.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So again, going back to like the charm school aspect of the movie, they would have to go basically learn how to be ladies in the time period that they were working on.
Because they're playing a manly sport.
Yeah, exactly. So they were playing 120 games in the span of 4 months. And then after a day of exhausting play, or whether they're playing a single game or a double header, no matter what, they still had to go to beauty school or charm school at the end of the night. So every night when they finished their day, no matter how long the day was, they would have to go to what was it called? The Helena Rubinstein Charm School in the evenings. At the charm school, they'd be taught proper etiquette, manners, personal hygiene, dress code for any situation they might encounter. just to name a few things. And they were required to carry around a beauty kit that they were given and taught to use. They weren't allowed to have short hair. They weren't allowed to smoke or drink in public. They had to wear lipstick at all times. They couldn't not wear lipstick if they were out in public.
Standard 50s, right?
Yeah. 40s. Yeah.
40s, 50s.
Exactly.
Well, didn't they play? You said they played.
They started in 43.
Yeah, and they played for a while though, right?
Till 54.
Yeah.
90, or that's how long the league went. Yeah. So anyone caught breaking these league rules would be fined $5, and that's about $70 today. The second fine, if you did it again, would be $10, and that's like $150 in today's dollars. And then the third time, you'd be suspended from the league if you didn't have, or if you did not have short hair, or you didn't wear lipstick, or you'd be fined. So
that's crazy. I'd
yeah,
be so mad if I got
away with
kicked
a
off
lot more
for not wearing lipstick.
awful shit than that. Yeah. There was a bunch of articles at the time that was written and referred to the league as nothing more than like a glamour softball league. And basically, as we learned, the women were required to carry this as part of their uniform. This was part of their identity to the public in their way. So their scantily clad uniform, again, they had like the skirts and stuff that they had to wear while they're playing. The whole sliding into base was a whole issue for them. Basically, everything was sexist back then. I don't have to tell you guys that. The women, again, and this was really interesting too. I kind of talked about some of the cities that they ended up in. Michigan actually had 5 teams in this
No
league.
way.
Yeah,
Really?
5 different teams. So again, they really centered around like industrial areas.
I know exactly where this is going, babe.
You do?
I mean, Ben.
Well, here's the funny part is like they only had a few names that they seemed to be able to create. So here's the 5 team names that we're dealing with here. The Battle Creek Bells, okay, the Kalamazoo Lassies, the Muskegon Bells, the Muskegon Lasses, and of course the Grand Rapid Chicks.
Wow.
Creative.
Yeah.
So creative.
So like, have we done Lassies? Yeah, like 4 times.
Muskegon had
It's a different city. It's fine.
two teams. That's weird.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Wait,
So again, the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League gave over 600 women athletes the opportunity to play professional sports, play it at a level they could never have attained in any kind of, in the way the social setting and social structure was set up at the time. There's no way they could have reached this pinnacle of athleticism. And basically the league operated from 43 to 54, as I mentioned. And it is absolutely one of the more unique aspects of our nation's baseball history, no doubt about it. And they actually do have a place in Cooperstown in the Hall of Fame. So the end of the movie, or actually the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, where we see them kind of looking through the Hall of Fame. That is true. They're still there. But that is the story behind the women's league featured in the film A League of Their Own.
So
Ben,
I
how
have
many-
a question. Go ahead, Michelle.
Questions, go.
how many teams were involved in the league?
15.
Do you know? 15.
Yeah.
Okay. What? And,
Wow,
and in the
Michigan
movie-
had 5.
Michigan
Yeah,
had
that's
5.
Crazy. Like Southern states. What was?
Charleston have a team?
I was
They
gonna ask the
did.
same thing. I was
Yeah.
gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah.
Let me-
In Florida, Orlando.
Yeah, give us deets, Ben.
Yeah, I got to find it here, but
The Charleston Chicks, maybe.
The Charleston.
Yeah.
Ship.
I think
was definitely
it might
it.
actually be right on there.
I was totally kidding.
No, I
Well,
think
Because I can't remember the two, like the Peaches were the main team with
the
Dottie
Racing
and
Bells
Kit.
is the one
Yep.
you're thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
one the
then-
sister got traded there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, Carly. You're basically getting
Yeah.
the
Now we're
movie.
just like spoiling the movie.
No, I mean it's fine.
Yeah. So you got Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Rockford, Fort Wayne, Peoria, Chicago, Springfield. Again, very industrial
Wow.
cities where
Yeah.
they knew they'd have fans and people who would come visit and pay money to go see these games in industrial settings where some of those men who weren't serving in the Army or the Navy or in the armed forces could go and check out a game. And
So my question is, and I don't, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, and I don't know if you said this, but why did that stop? Why did it end in 54?
So basically what happened was that the war ended, in the late 40s, and they kept it going. But what began to happen is that the minor league baseball system started to really expand. And so the teams, if you look up minor league baseball teams, they are in places like Kenosha and Racine and Peoria. Those are where those minor league teams set up a lot of times.
Okay.
So they kind of took away the luster a bit from the women's league when the men's like semi-pro teams or the minor league teams that go to the professionals started showing up in the same towns and the same areas. So it was. They didn't want to watch
them out. We don't want to watch you women anymore. Thanks.
Exactly, yeah, pretty much. Attendance went down big time. If I tracked it for a little while, but it went down dramatically from like 1951 to 54. It dropped like 80% in terms of like people attending games. Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah, but that is it. That's the League of Their Own. The story behind the league from A League of Their Own,
which is called what again?
I was gonna.
No, I'm not doing it again. It'll be on the title.
Come on.
AAPGLZW.
Well, that is interesting to get some more information because lots of movies are great, right? And most of us, Carly, knew that movie was based on a true story, but we don't know all these other details. So
yeah, it's based on a true story, but the bummer part, whenever you look up movies that are based on a true story, the characters are never real. And that
it's
is
just so disappointing. That story was so good.
Yeah, the sisters, those weren't real people.
Really? I mean, they did a good job to jazz it up, though, for a movie.
Was Tom Hanks' character?
No, he wasn't real.
No?
I mean, he was. There was a manager that was a
crying
really good
in
player.
baseball. Like no one said that line.
What was that? There's no what?
No crying in baseball.